Hey guys, I'm Pixel Dan, and this is a review of the Nickelodeon Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutagen Man. Mutagen Man was one of my absolute favorite figures in the vintage Ninja Turtles toy line, so I was ecstatic to see this character show up in the new cartoon series and receive this new action figure, so I'm anxious to check it out. As you can see, he comes on the standard TMNT blister card packaging that we've seen for each figure in this line so far, featuring that bright purple and green color scheme and fully showcasing the figure within, along with a sticker right there on the front of the blister bubble letting you know that he is a new character for Season 2. Flipping that over to the back side of the box, we get ourselves a little bio on the new version of the Mutagen Man. And down below that, we get a look at the growing list of action figures in Playmate's Nick Turtles toy line. Alright, so let's go ahead and take a look at this guy outside of the packaging. The fact that he is essentially just a jar of guts and mutagen makes a really unique style for this particular action figure. And I think that this new look of Mutagen Man was captured pretty well in this brand new figure form. You can see that the base body there is just kind of a silver jar that's got a really nice translucent green screen on both the front and the back that you can see his guts floating around on the inside. The arms and the legs are essentially mutagen that's sort of pouring out that forms into hands and feet, and it's done really well on this action figure. Both the arms and the legs are done in sort of this yellowy green translucent plastic and look just kind of like a blobby mess. Something really fun here is that you have the ability to open up the jar and take a closer look at the guts that are on the inside. Just by twisting the top and pulling it upwards, you'll remove the innards from the inside of Mutagen Man's jar. The guts are sort of attached to that lid there, so they're non-removable when you pull them out. But that way you can really get a cool look at the pink mess of just guts and all kinds of nastiness that are hanging there. And you can even see his little eyes kind of floating around the front there. It would be really neat if this was deco just a little bit better, if it had a better paint job that kind of differentiated each of the organs that are hanging there, and I really kind of wish that the pupils were at least painted on the eyes, since that's the way he looks in the cartoon series, but I do still think this is a really neat touch that you've got the ability to remove this and get a closer look at it. Now, the fact that you can remove that means that there are some added features that I'm going to show you in just a bit. But first, let's go ahead and take a look at the articulation on this guy. Now, since he's got a pretty unique build, don't expect super articulation or anything. But here's what we got. The arms are on ball joints, so they've got the ability to move up and down and outwards there. And then he just has swivels at the wrist, so there's nothing else in the arms. Of course, his body is just a jar, so there's no articulation in the body there. And then he just has ball joints again at his thigh, so the legs can move outwards, forwards, and backwards, as well as swivel around. No other articulation in the legs. So very minimal articulation on this guy, but it works well enough that you should still be able to get some pretty neat poses out of him. Alright, so I briefly mentioned the fact that this guy has some neat little action features. Let me show you exactly what I mean. One of the cool things about the vintage Mutagen Man action figure was the fact that you could fill his body with ooze or water to make the display even cooler. And guess what? You can do just that with this brand new version of Mutagen Man. First, let me start with the action feature that is seen on his hand. You might notice that on his open hand there, he's got some pores in it. Well, that's because you can put mutagen inside of his hand. The hand's got the ability just to pop off, so you can take some of your TMNT ooze and just pour it on the inside of the hand. You won't need very much, just a little bitty glob will do it. Then when you pop the hand back on while it's filled with mutagen, it forces the ooze to pour out of the little holes that are in the palm of his hand. Now, in theory, this is a pretty cool action feature, and it does look neat seeing the ooze kind of slowly dripping out of his hand. But I will note that it's a little hard to put the hand back on while it's filled with the ooze, and it all sort of just splats right out when you first snap it on and doesn't really have much of a dripping effect after. But here's where things get really fun. Just like on that vintage action figure, you can pull the top off like I showed you earlier, and you can fill his insides with ooze. So you can go ahead and take your TMNT ooze there and just kind of fill it up. Make sure you leave enough room to put that insides back on there when you screw on the cap, and now you've got real ooze floating around inside of his body. Now, the only downside with filling him with ooze is that you will no longer be able to see the guts on the inside. It completely fills up with the ooze, and that's all you'll be able to see. But instead, you can use water as an alternative to ooze, which is something that I love doing on the vintage Mutagen Man. So if you clean out the ooze that you just put in there and instead fill him up with water, you get a really cool effect. Because the translucent pieces on the jar are already a dark green, the water on the inside will look like ooze floating around, and you'll be able to see the guts perfectly on the inside. So this creates a really nice display feature for the new Mutagen Man figure. Now, while I really like the overall design of this figure and that the features are pretty fun with it, one small gripe I've got is once again with the scale of the figure. Standing up next to the Ninja Turtles or even the humans like April and Casey, you'll notice that he's really short. In the cartoon series, he's huge. He's sort of like a big monster running amok through the city. So it's a bit of a bummer to see that he's this much shorter than the Turtles and the humans. Alright guys, it's comparison time. Here's a look at the brand new Mutagen Man standing alongside the vintage version, which is my favorite figure from the classic Ninja Turtles toy line. Here you can see the similarities between the designs, but also the major differences between the two. So there you go, guys. There's a look at the brand new version of Mutagen Man from the Nickelodeon Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles toy line. Overall, I really like this figure. Despite the fact that he's a little bit shorter than he should be, I still really love the translucent arms and legs. I love that you can fill the body up with water just like on the vintage one, and I think he looks really cool. Like I said, I'm a huge fan of Mutagen Man, so I was so happy to see this guy return in the new series, and I really like his new look. And I'm so happy to have a new action figure of one of my all-time favorite Ninja Turtles characters. Mutagen Man is starting to hit store shelves right now, so happy hunting, and until next time.